Welcome to the Reticle Up podcast, where I, 3-Gun Kenzie, will be interviewing competitive shooters, hunters, fishermen, archers, entrepreneurs, and outdoorsmen. Come learn with me as I interview people from all walks of life, in different disciplines, all across the world, from novices to professionals of all ages. No matter what, everyone has something they can teach you, so come join me on the journey. Welcome back, all you Reticle Up podcast listeners. I'm so excited. We are in the gun room dungeon, I would call it today.
I am super stoked. This is really cool, and I am in absolute heaven because there's guns and knives everywhere.
I know there's one behind you. If you need to go pew, then that's the fully loaded bad boy.
Heck yeah.
I've never really introduced who we got here on the podcast either. We have TC Barnette, guys. I am not as much in the blade world as you are for sure. So if you don't know him, he is the face of Smoky Mountain Knife and Guns in Knoxville. Well, I guess that's Sevierville.
Sevierville, yeah.
Sevierville. Oh, Sevierville. I'm learning my Tennessean. Yep.
Sevierville.
So, give us a background of the guns, the knives, how you landed here, and then I want to talk about your unique background a little bit later.
So, actually it started in 2020, and they put a job posting out for someone to be kind of the face of the company and to do all of their videos and their media, and to be their on-air personality. And at the time, it was just a part-time job. And my wife saw it, and she was like, "This is made for you."
Yep.
And I was like, absolutely. And at the time, my daughter was 4, and I took her with me to the interview. Mm-hmm. And it was with our current CEO, Tyler. And I sat down with him, and I was like, "I'm the guy you're looking for."
Oh, heck yeah.
Because... And it was a lot more to me then, and it was more than I could put into words. But that's a place that's always been so special to me. Mm-hmm. As a child growing up, we would always go there, and that was more of a highlight for me than going to Dollywood. So we would come up on vacation. I would save my money up all year long. I would mow grass. I would recycle cans, and just so I could buy one knife every year at Smoky Mountain Knife Works. And so that place meant so much to me. And then getting the opportunity to start doing that. And I started doing it part-time at the time. And it just kind of snowballed. It turned into a full-time position, more of a kind of marketing role and a little bit more hands-on. And realizing that I guess I wasn't just talking out of my butt, and realizing that I did have the knowledge, and I did have the experience as a collector and as an enthusiast, but now getting to take I guess my actual background and use it as an entertainment platform was super cool. So
do you ever feel like you have imposter syndrome?
Kind of.
Or did you go through that process where you're
absolutely. So where you don't feel like you belong, or you feel like you don't deserve what you're getting. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where I look around sometimes and I see the people that I'm talking to and the things that I'm getting to do, just like today. Yeah. And no, I'm serious. And getting the opportunity to do these things, I feel very lucky and very fortunate. It's been a very interesting and wild ride.
Yeah, I bet.
But getting to do this is absolutely a dream come true.
For sure.
And getting to do it as a job.
Right, get paid to play with blades all day, make content.
And that's another fun thing. So my wife and I both met each other in the entertainment business. Mm-hmm. And now we've both retired from that officially.
But you still dabble in it.
I do. I play gigs here and there. But now for fun, not for, to put food on the table anymore. Right. And she works for a mortgage company here in Knoxville, and in the tax department, which sounds
not fun.
Super exciting. But it's a company that really takes great care of her and great benefits. And her boss was actually asking her the other day, he goes, "What does your husband do?"
How do you answer that question?
She goes, "Well, to put it simply, he plays with guns and knives all day and makes stupid internet videos." And I was like, when you put it like that, it sounds like the coolest shit in the world.
Right.
And yeah, it sounds like a cool freaking job.
Right.
There's a lot more that goes into it than
Oh
that,
God, yeah.
obviously.
Yep.
But it's yeah, when I hear people talking about it like that, it makes me think, wow, I lucked out.
Yeah, no, for sure. So what's funny is literally yesterday, so recording this, I but get to, I'm reframing, 7 hours on the range, which was in 27 degrees. And part of that, I had to wear shorts and I had to demo like concealed carry clothing. And right. So it's funny when we talk about having you here because you're on the other side of it, but it's the exact same thing that it's still work. Like we get to do it. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Coolest job in the world. Right. But I'm like, I'm freezing cold, 7 hours. I didn't actually get to shoot for fun. I forgot the optic plate. I ran into a moon clip issue with another gun. So didn't get to actually shoot that. And like, so it's kind of funny when we think about these things of like, oh, like where it's painful, but it's actually like a really cool job.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really thankful coming into it. And it was kind of funny getting into, so I started with SMKW first.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I knew a lot about knives, and really one of my biggest benefits that I brought to the table was my knowledge of steel. I grew up working with steel a lot. My dad owned and ran a machine shop for years. Cool. That I helped him with, and a fabrication shop. And so I had a lot of experience with steel and a lot of knowledge surrounding steel, which is what led me to the Blade Steel series that we did. But at the time, I actually knew more about guns than I did the knife industry.
I think it's overwhelming in both, but the knives, it's like I don't understand the handles, the textures, the blade names. Couldn't name them. So you can dive into that world. The types of steel, like I've gotten an overview before, and I'm like, I'm gonna retain 2% of that.
Right. Yeah. I was actually did some videos this morning with Mari Ford from Case, and going over all their new lines, and the new stuff they've got coming up, and they're using a lot of new blade steels. Not necessarily in their traditional line, but in some other new stuff that they've got coming out. And we were talking about how many different variations, and it's almost like different recipes for each one. You get into different chemical compounds and makeups, and it's fascinating. I'm not on the level of like Laren Thomas that created MagnaCut. He's actually got a PhD in metallurgy, so he's a doctor.
That's a thing
of metallurgy.
Okay, cool.
But it's one of those things where there's always something new coming out, and there's so much knowledge out there. I think a lot of times people get wrapped up in the different blade steels a little too much.
Yeah.
Because if it can be sharpened, it's going to cut.
Right.
And I'm not saying that there's not benefits and drawbacks to each one, but it's not as important as a lot of people make it out to be.
Right. Yeah. And everybody has their fancy, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's what drives me nuts about the gun world, too. And I'm sure you see the knife world. It's like, why do we have to hate on what people like, even if it's outrageous? Like, I showed you I have the Mayhem, and I'm like, this is my favorite.
Yeah.
Blade, and be like, why do you need it? Just mind your business. Okay?
Yeah.
I like it, and it makes me happy. I'm going to own it.
And, that's kind of been, so I've taken, it was interesting. I took over for SMG&A, our guns and ammo store, doing all the social media and the videos for that just over a year ago. And the growth has been great. It's been a new set of challenges as far as social media goes.
Yeah.
And that's
welcome to my world.
Incredibly frustrating.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
Right? Thank you.
I didn't think about this. I did marketing back when we used to be able to do paid ads on Google and Facebook, and so I've seen the evolution. I've had my ads account shut down. I'm like, oh, I've been there since day one.
Yep. And it's but I try to keep Ben Peterson, that owns NAFs, that used to be with Blade HQ. He is so enthusiastic, and it's almost like he enjoys the challenges that brings. And I'm like,
I don't.
I'm trying to feel your energy here, but and it can be frustrating. But getting into it, I've tried to take a different approach, because all of the gun tubers out there have their own way of doing it, and their own kind of Grand Thumb does his own thing, and John Patton does his own thing with TGC, and Warrior Poet. I love their stuff, and Brandon
Have you played
Herrera.
with his rifle yet, by the way? John?
No, I have
I'm
not.
just curious.
No,
Okay.
I haven't. I want to so bad.
Yeah, yeah.
But
We're off on tangent. Sorry, guys.
right? But everybody has their own approach, and I was like, how am I going to make this different?
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously being a gun store ourselves makes my approach a little bit different than yours would be, or really any of the independents
Yeah.
out there. And that kind of set it up for me. But then I started getting into it, and I started looking at what I was doing in the analytics just over the last year. And I've kind of taken the approach that kind of what we do with SMKW. We don't take ourselves too seriously, for one.
They
but
wear costumes to play
yeah.
the show. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Themes.
X-wing fighters or Ghostbusters, as many people thought we were. But you know, I take a more information, not affirmation approach. And that's where I'm trying to set myself apart, because especially with guns and knives, there's so much personal interaction that comes into play. So what I like and what works for me
It's totally different than what
is not gonna be what works for everybody.
Yep.
So I can't go on there and say these are the top 5 in this category, because it's going to be subjective.
100%.
So I try to take a little bit broader approach. And then I also incorporate some clickbait titles in there to just make people mad.
Sure.
One of my favorites, I did a short video just introducing the Springfield Hellion. And I titled it, and I didn't even say anything about it in the video, but I titled it, "Is this the best bullpup?" And oh
People
my
went off.
gosh, they lost their minds.
Of course.
And what's funny is they wouldn't even watch the video. They would just go right into the comments. And I'm like, this is doing exactly what I wanted it to do.
Yeah, there's the engagement. 100%.
I did the same thing with I want to say it was either a Shockwave or a TAC 14, and it was the one with all the wood furniture, and I was like, home defense can look good too in the title. I never said anything about home defense in the video itself. But people just went nuts in the comments, and I'm like, this is exactly what
Thank you.
So, you know, it's one of those where I try to take a more laid back approach to it.
Yeah.
Now, I do have the more serious side of stuff that I do, and where I pose questions and I give options. One of the most recent ones, and the video hasn't posted yet. I just filmed it last week, but I did like a top 5 home defense.
Nice.
But I did it not from a specific model. I just broke down, you know, here are your options. You can go with a shotgun. Here are the pros and cons of that. Here you can go with a rifle, which, because I mean, shotguns and AR-15s have been some of the most popular as far as home defense.
Yeah.
But here are the pros and cons of that.
Yep.
And again, it's one of those things that what works for one person is not going to work for the other person. I live on a farm where the nearest house is over 100 yards away.
You just need thermals and night vision.
And so I don't have to worry about over penetration.
Yep.
And I mentioned in my video, like when I leave my bedroom at night, everyone else in the house is either behind me or above me.
Right.
So I don't have to think about some of the things that maybe somebody who lives in an apartment has to worry about, or a really urban environment. So my approach to it is going to be different. So that's all the kind of things that has to be taken into account. And I guess what frustrates me the most is that a lot of the people out there watching us don't realize that.
Yeah.
We're out there to give suggestions, not gospel.
I can't get into what people comment on where they've never created a video, they've never filmed a video, they have no idea how much work it went into it. There are hundreds of thousands of options out there, and we do not have time to cover everything. And so long.
Or money.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how much money it takes, and that's kind of where I'm fortunate working for 2 companies that I have a lot of products at my disposal.
Right. Yeah.
To get hands on with, but at the same time, I'm I'm also hindered by that too.
Right.
So
yeah, you can't check out everything and T&E everything, and
yeah,
and that's the stuff where people see like I'll get a gun, right? But then sometimes like I have to get the holster, have to get the ammo, have to get the mag pouches, have to get the mags, have to get the optic, and it's a spiraling, and you just can't collect all of that at once sometimes.
right.
Yeah. The content creation side of stuff, can you speak to people listening, like what it takes to put together something? Like what's the gear, the time commitment, the editing, like what actually goes into one video?
So just in equipment that we use on a daily basis, we've probably got anywhere between $20,000 and $40,000 tied up.
So gross.
Just in equipment.
Yep.
And a lot of that is stationary in our studio.
Yeah.
But when you talk about video production, and this has also been something that our media director and I have gone back and forth on, because sometimes the stuff that we spend the most time on
gets 0 views.
Gets so few views.
And then a cell phone video knocks it
blows
out of
up.
the park.
And it's so frustrating to spend
Uh-huh.
that much time and that much energy and that much of our education, because we both have backgrounds in that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's so frustrating to spend that much energy and get nothing for it, and then to do something stupid and it just blows up.
I know.
But I mean, in a general video, I've done, and it depends on what I'm looking at. Short form videos are obviously going to be easier, less time, but still takes me putting it in my program. I use Final Cut for all of our stuff, and we have to stay up to date with the effects that we're using. We have to stay up to date with the templates that we're using, and also little things like, so we'll do an intro, and then we have our brand logo with some animation.
Yep.
Those have to be changed out.
Yep.
And we spend hours upon hours creating those, because those we have to create from nothing, because they're our logos.
Yep.
And so just something that takes 10 seconds in a video, we've spent 100 hours between all of us, working on.
Yeah.
So in addition to that, then we've got our videos that have to be broken down and edited, different camera angles put in. And then when you're talking about something with higher production value, you're talking about maybe something out in the field that takes different camera angles and reshoots. And then once you've got all the footage, that's when the fun really starts.
Real work. I hate editing.
you take that, and then you have to put it into your editing software, and then you have to figure out, okay, what do I want to emphasize in this? What do I want to focus on in this? And what do I want to make it look like? Because it has to have an energy. It has to have
story,
an attitude,
something. Yeah.
And so then after you get done editing, you have to find the music and the underlying
and
stuff.
Font also on like overlays and captions.
Yeah, because there's some of the videos that we do that have like a really hardcore driving grunge feel to it.
Yeah.
And then there's others that have a very Appalachian, like dobro feel to it. And it just depends on what the subject matter is and what the video style was.
Yeah.
And so for each video, I mean, we're talking hours upon hours of not only preparation, then filming, and then editing. All of that goes into it.
Yep.
And
promotion. Then we gotta go. We're not gonna get into those weeds, but it's funny because now I'm doing like the Instagram reels, the shorts, and having to cut up that, and then oh my god, yep.
And that's really where, and my boss and I had a long discussion this morning about that, because the shorts are where it's at, the reels are where it's at. That's where we're getting the most interaction, and we're getting the most bang for our buck,
for sure,
so to speak. And that also poses new issues, because we have to change our mindset and way of thinking when we're doing those kind of videos, versus we have to abbreviate everything. You have to cram a whole lot of information into something that's under a minute long.
Yep.
And I think a lot of people don't realize the issues that poses. And and you have to figure, okay, well, what is the important information to get across and what really doesn't matter.
Yep.
And you always lose something in the translation. And there's always going to be somebody out there that calls you out. Well, you didn't talk about this. Well, I had
I had 60 seconds.
60
bro.
seconds. I mean, I'm doing all I can here.
Yeah.
And one guy called me out. I was actually doing a short on a gun, and he called me out. He was like, maybe you learn about guns and don't read off a script. And what I was literally doing, I had the gun pulled up on my iPad, and I just had the specs.
Yeah, the specs.
I wanted to make sure that I got the barrel length right, and the overall length right, and the weight.
That's something where I do it with most of the videos I record for Athlon Outdoors and the articles and stuff. But it's interesting because they don't realize that yesterday I went out with 9 guns, and I have to remember the capacity, the base pad extensions, barrel length, the thread pitch pattern. It's like throw up, right?
Yeah.
Which is great. That is stuff, right? It's stuff though that if you do a short, like those folks can simply Google too, right?
Yeah,
They can
exactly.
Google it, but it's something where I'm like, regurgitating information is important. I get it, but it is frustrating because they don't see. Like, I probably handled last year in 2023. I'm trying to guess 1,000 guns, non-exaggeration, probably 1,000. All the events, SHOT Show, NRA, the writers event, maybe more. Honestly, maybe more. I don't know.
It becomes up here in our head a convoluted mess. That is it's hard to sift through all the bullshit and get down to the nitty gritty and
it's tough.
It is.
So backing up to, for people that don't really know, this is funny for me to get to share this, because I remember going up to you at Blade Show, and I was like, I really want to meet TC, and here's what's funny, it's like, you are the internet face of Smoky Mountain, and I was like, I've been there, I love it. I went up here to that store before I even moved here, right? Like, that's the thing that people do when they visit. And it's funny because I got gifts from my parents and brother and all the people there, but I was like, okay, gotta go meet him, and it was really cool to meet you in person. So, nerd alert, I gotta ask, how many times have you been like called out, recognized, those random people, and maybe outside of shows too? Like, have you ever just in the wild?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and it's funny when it happens. My wife gets kind of annoyed because, and it's so. It's not something that I am that I'm kind of used to it.
Right.
So I spent 20 years in the entertainment business as an entertainer. Went on the road and toured for a while and did that.
Okay, before you gloss over that, you might as well dive into that then and then go.
So I lived in Nashville. I went to Belmont University, majored in music business, and with a minor initially in theology and then in classical voice and then commercial voice. And my emphasis was on production. So I did a lot of, I took a lot of business classes and stuff like that. And I started playing around town, and I had a band, played at all the places around Nashville that don't exist anymore because it's
singer
changed.
And songwriter.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
And did some songwriting, and did some songwriter showcases with some pretty big artists out there, and got to really live a really cool life. And went out on the road playing and singing backgrounds for several different people, and I got really burnt out on it. I also was not mature enough to handle what was being thrown my way.
I'm sure.
And it was really wearing on me, and I went through my first divorce, and I needed a change. So I moved over to East Tennessee. I was like, I just need something that feels more like home. I'm originally from Alabama, and this was where we always came on vacation. And so it felt like home to me. And I got a job at Dollywood as a singer and a dancer. Started doing that, did that for 3 years, moved on. Did a couple of other shows in and around town. Then we opened up the Smoky Mountain Opry, and I emceed and was a feature vocalist at that show for the first 6 years it was open. And then moved on to Dolly Parton's Stampede.
That's crazy cool.
Growing up, I worked with my pawpaw at a cattle farm that he had, and I always wanted to be a cowboy, and that's kind of what I became. So I was an MC and a comedian and a stunt rider for Dolly Parton Stampede.
Wow.
And I did that for almost 6 years, something around that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's a lot of fame and a lot of time, by the way. So now I get the recognition.
and so
yeah.
I had a lot of people around town and all over that would recognize me from doing those shows.
Right.
But doing internet stuff is
a whole level of strange.
It's a whole nother level.
Well,
and
because you're in their living rooms, right? Or you're on their phone, you're in their bed while they're watching and scrolling, which is a little bit weird for me too. And then like they think they really know you.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, hey, don't really know you, but I'm excited to meet
Right.
you. Try not to be weird, but that is how some people perceive it.
Yeah. And like last week, I was down on the sales floor, and this couple comes in, and the wife, like, she hits her husband. She goes,
"That's him,"
and he's like, "Oh my God, you're him." That depends on who's asking. Is it the IRS? No. Is it the ATF? Is it? And he was like, "We watch all of your videos." She was like, God. "Yes." She's like, "He makes me watch them too. We watch them in bed."
Oh, no. They did not say that.
And I was like,
no. And we won't even go into the next sentence.
I'm uncomfortable now, officially. He was like, "Are you allowed to take selfies?" And I was like, "Yeah."
You're now framed in their bedroom.
Right. So it's been, and actually I got recognized. We were out of town on vacation somewhere. I want to say it was either like Charleston or Savannah.
Mm-hmm.
And this person was like, "You're the knife guy."
Yeah.
And I was like, I am the knife guy. And
my title.
It makes me feel good. Like I feel like at that point that I'm doing something
For
right.
Sure. Yeah.
And so that's been a whole nother aspect for me, because being an entertainer, I got that gratification immediately every night in front of a live audience.
Yeah.
And
you don't see the audience in this one.
No.
Yep. So when you get
just in front of a camera,
tidbit, you're like, "Oh, it paid off. Somebody's watching."
And
yes.
So that's been the hardest transition for me.
Yeah.
And I mean, you and I kind of spoke about it when we were texting about kind of how I've tried to make this transition and getting my footing as far as my mental health goes, because it's hard when you do the internet stuff, and a lot of times you don't get that feedback that you hope for, and a lot of it tends to be negative.
I was going to say, you hear the negative, but you never
pay attention to the positive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of positive out there.
There's a ton of positive, but they don't say anything, do anything, comment, message. It's just like they're there watching, listening. Yeah.
Or they'll comment and they'll say, "I totally agree. Great video." And you read it kind of like that.
Yeah.
But you don't get that but then when you read the negative stuff, you really dwell on it. Yeah. And it's hard.
Yeah.
It's intense. So it takes I have a tremendous amount of respect, even more now than ever, for any of us that do this, because it takes a thick skin, and it takes a fervent determination.
And your 2024 would be like your 4th year in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm at 10.
Yep.
So you've done the baby steps. 10 doesn't get any better, just FYI. It's not the exponential growth you hope for. It's awesome, but it is, when you're in the guns and the knife world and anything, I think on the political spectrum, it's just not what it used to be.
Right.
Like, the censorship's kind of insane. And it's just weird now, especially like being a female, man. It's like, you can't have an opinion on guns and not be automatically categorized, automatically like blocked or censored, or negative comments. And I'm like, oh, like, yeah.
And that's one thing that I really appreciate about you and what you're doing for the community, because I think it means so much to have you out there.
Thanks.
And like you said, it's incredibly frustrating, the censorship. Actually, our Facebook page for the gun store got shut down.
I believe it.
And I've put in 5 appeals now, 3 with Facebook themselves, and then 2 more with a third-party company that handles their more in-depth appeals.
Yeah.
Still waiting to hear back from that, but the problem. And I took screenshots of the explanation that was given to me, and they literally say that if you sell guns, knives, tobacco, alcohol,
Explosives, all that stuff.
you are allowed on their platform to promote your brick and mortar stores. And that's exactly what we are. You're allowed to promote, you're just not allowed to sell on the platform.
Right.
And that's what I emphasized in my appeal. I was like, you're allowing us to promote. You're saying that we can
Right.
in your community guidelines, but then we got shut down because you said that we were trying to sell. No, we were promoting our company and our business.
Yep.
And they're really being hypocritical about it, and it's frustrating. That's why we've kind of shifted our focus a little bit toward platforms that are a little more friendly. X has been growing exponentially.
X is fun.
And it's kind of the Wild West. They
Yeah.
just let you have at it.
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's
Have you
free.
monetized it yet?
Not yet.
Okay. I was just curious.
So we're looking at some ad spending there, and in that aspect of things.
What about Rumble?
You know, that's one that I like it. I like the platform, and I like the people there. It just doesn't have the traction as far as the general consumer and the general population goes.
So what I've seen in the past, oh God, what was that app? It'll come to me, but it's like more of all these platforms that we're creating have like the free speech, right? But they tend to come from a place of a far side of the political spectrum.
Right.
And that's where we're not trying to campaign or advertise or market to us. We're not trying to talk to us and be in our silos. And people don't understand that too with like even my world is like, I'm trying to reach the curious person, the non-gun owner, the non-knife person, the person that doesn't even know what they don't know, right? And so when we're getting on, and I think Rumble, you know, could be a future, but like you said, there's no reach, there's not a lot of users, there's not really paid content, they're not Google.
There's a lot of enthusiasts on there
Yeah.
that already know what they're looking for and
Right.
already know a lot about the stuff, but there's not a lot of I don't want to say ignorant consumers, but unknowing consumers.
Yeah.
Ignorant to the terminology and to the ownership. So, and that's what's frustrating is we have to go out to these areas that maybe have people that don't know as much so that we can teach them, so that we can broaden our horizons as a community. And that's one thing that I feel like not enough of us work hard enough at is making sure that we're inclusive of, because I mean, we're never going to grow and get the respect that we want if we don't include people that are curious, like you said. We've got to be welcoming and bring people into the community and teach them how it works and what's good and what's not. As much as I love Brandon Herrera's Gun Fails and Darwin Awards, our goal is to eliminate that.
Yeah, they're painful to watch. And so I won't even mention it because I don't want to be starting up stuff, but there is content that's been put out there that even I question. I was like, okay, yes, that's funny, or yes, that's a fail, or yes, that's like a devastating thing, but that just set our community back because we're out there not really doing dumb stuff. I'm still dumb. But like, still dumb. But it's like, okay, these are the exact people that are against us. And now they're going to use this for fuel for fire of like, okay, well, this is what the redneck mafia does. This is what I'm like, we're not all like that.
No.
But I think sometimes stuff could just not be posted.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a clue. It's
and
like,
that's
not post it.
That's why I tremendously respect John Lovell for not placating to and posting about all of these crazies out there. He's like, no, I don't want to give them the time because that's just going to make our community look worse.
100%.
There's no need to give the bad people attention. Because that just hurts us. And I mean, by that, we're talking about criminals. We're talking about idiots out there.
100%.
That are not part of our community. And that's what we need more of.
I agree. I know I keep circling around this, but I keep meaning to go back. talking about Blade Show, talking about SHOT Show, and the community and stuff. How important are those events to like what you do, meeting people? And I want to know, how many of those have you been to? Do you even know?
Oh,
Because you do Blade Show West and East.
yeah, Blade Show West, and Blade Show Texas. We do all three of those every
Okay.
year. Um,
Do you do the Texas knife event thing? I'm trying to think of what it's called.
there's Blade Texas, but then there you're talking about like the Blade Mafia
Something like
group,
that. There's
like
something
down there.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't yet.
Okay.
That is something that we're looking into. We want to.
Okay.
We just haven't had a chance to do that yet.
What other knife blade like shows, trade shows are out there?
Those are the main ones. There's
Okay.
also there's like the New York Custom Knife Show that got moved from New York because they don't like knives.
Of course.
But they still called it the New York Custom Knife Show, even though it was in Nashville.
Stop it. No, they didn't.
But then I think they changed the name of it. So there's a ton of smaller knife shows like that.
Sure.
Haven't really done a lot of those. We pretty much stick to, the stuff that Blade promotes.
Yeah.
And we typically sponsor a lot of that stuff.
Right.
And are going to be doing more of that this year going forward. Really excited about that. And then we do a lot of outdoor events as well. I know you might be doing something coming up soon with Essie and Randall's Adventure Training.
Mm-hmm. Should be leaving tomorrow.
Yeah. And so that's their events, and their training weekends are invaluable. If you get a chance to do one of those, I'm here to tell you, it is a incredible learning experience with a team of people that really knows their stuff, and there's a lot to be learned there.
Like how to not cut yourself with their knives. How to not add stitches to your finger. Oh my god. That's a whole story, folks. So if you don't know,
I got a scar right there.
I'm sure. Yeah. Which one's that blade?
That was an Essie Zancuda.
Stop it. We both had Essies? How many stitches was that?
I didn't stitch it.
Okay. Well,
I cut it in the middle of a show, actually. While like I came backstage to actually tape up something that I'd cut out in the arena, and was pulling my knife out to actually cut the tape, and I sliced my hand open real good.
So just moving too fast, too much going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, mine was from your store, made it home, 45-minute drive, was tying the paracord and pulled it out of the sheath right where my finger was over the sheath. And so I had it for a whole hour before I went to the ER on Memorial Day weekend, which took forever. But anyway, so that's the Azula. It's very sharp. There was no blood on the blade. There was no skin. It was just clean. Solid. Anyways,
nice and sharp.
That's
right
how
out
I
of the
met
box.
Essie. I went straight to them. I think it was, oh god, I'm trying to remember what trade show. It was trade show. And I went down to their booth. I'm like, hi guys, I'm the girl that tagged you and used your knife to show an example in real life of how well it works. That's that scar.
Nice.
It was good.
How many stitches?
3.
3.
It's so ugly. Okay, so I've digressed a little there too. The other thing I want to talk about, with like the trade shows and events though, really truly is the people, like from not just the industry people, but like how many people do you get to meet in the public and educate or talk to about and nerd out about knives?
Well, and that's honestly, and that kind of goes back to getting that satisfaction, because those are the events that we really get to witness that. We get to witness the people that enjoy our videos that maybe don't comment.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, we watch all of your videos and we love everything that you guys do. And it's nice to get that vindication, and to see that what we're doing is having a positive effect on people. And that's always been, I guess, my biggest thing personally is I always want to have a positive effect on the people that I come in contact with, whether it's in my work or in my personal life. My goal is to have a positive effect on everyone. And so getting that interaction means a lot. And that's why I enjoy the trade shows more than anything.
Yeah.
I mean, we go because we can get a lot of content.
Absolutely.
All at one time. And honestly, that's some of the best content we get as far as its performance online. Because the people that don't get to go want to see what's going on. They want to be included. And we try to provide them with that. But I think for me personally, it's not necessarily about that. It's more about getting to interact with people face to face, which I stay locked up in my dungeon at the store 90% of the time. No windows. It's dark. Yeah.
You can fix the dark. You know that, right?
I could turn on lights, but
Yeah.
I kind of like it dark. It's like my soul and my sense of humor.
Whatever.
It's dark.
Whatever.
It's
You're
very
nicer
dark.
than that. That's awesome. So on the other side of stuff that I've dove in, I don't know, we talked about it a little bit offline, is suppressors. So you guys have an SOT.
Yeah.
Right? Do you get to demo a lot of those?
Not as many as I'd like.
Yeah.
Mainly because that would be an exorbitant cost for the store. Because after I demo it, I can't sell it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have gotten to demo a few different ones. I've got a few more on my radar, and stuff that I'm looking forward
What
to.
are those?
The main one that I really want to get my hands on, and that I want for myself personally, is the Hybrid 46. I want that one just for its versatility.
Very interesting. Okay.
The ability to put it on literally anything.
Yeah.
And that came from, so last year I got one of the Marlin 4570s.
The Ruger Marlin 1895.
Yeah.
The same gun.
Yeah, and I love it. I'd wanted it for so long, and the first couple of times that they came out, I didn't get a chance to get one because they just flew off the shelf.
I know, I've had so many people try to offer me cash. I'm like, dude, I'm not.
No.
This is my baby.
And honestly, I got it because it is my primary hunting weapon.
Yeah.
Here in East Tennessee.
I believe it.
And I've had a lot of people being like, "What? You don't have the range," and I'm like, I don't need it here.
Yeah.
You can't. Yeah. There's nowhere I can go and hunt and be able to shoot for more than 200 yards.
Not that I would want to. I think my longest shot was 250 or 230. It wasn't very
right.
far. I mean,
and so that's my primary hunting rifle, and I wanted a suppressor to be able to fit on it.
Yeah.
But I wanted also something that can go on 9mm.
That is such a weird thread pitch, though. What is it? 11.
I don't remember.
The internet
exactly.
warriors are going to attack us now. See, I just set us up for failure. But no, that was the one weird can where I got the Obsidian 45 from Rugged for that. And yeah, you got to get the stupid adapter.
Yeah.
Because the thread pitch is just so odd, but it's worth it.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
And so that's next on my list.
Any others? Just that one.
That's the main one. Okay. I've got others that I'm intrigued by. So, and that's kind of where my machine shop experience comes out.
Like 3D printed stuff.
Yeah, I'm not touching that.
Just kidding.
So, and to give a little bit more background there, I worked in a machine shop with my dad for years, and then helped my dad run it later in his life. And I know a lot about steel, and I know a lot about its properties and how it works.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that stuff out there that I don't trust.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting to see new suppressor designs come and go. A lot of them are a flash in the pan just because it's a gimmick. But there are a few new designs that are intriguing, and it's interesting to see where that's going. And hopefully, I know we keep seeing a lot of clickbait videos out there of people talking about suppressors coming off of the NFA items. Hopefully that's a direction that we're going.
I highly doubt it.
I do too.
The amount I paid in tax stamps, there's no way
Yeah.
they're going to give that up.
No.
They love that. That's free money.
Yeah.
Just print cash.
Yeah. It's
for us.
It's frustrating. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, nothing's impossible.
No. Okay, so the knife size stuff, because we really haven't dove into the weird stuff that I want you to talk about, is blade shape and why. What is it for? Like, I see all these like whirly twirly videos, especially like Tomas with Tactical Tavern.
Yeah.
So why would you have like, don't know it, Harambit versus like, I don't know, a straight blade versus you know what I mean? I don't know what I don't know. So can you speak to some of that for people listening that are not knife people?
So there are a ton of different blade shapes out there. I break it down kind of like this. Most of it is aesthetics.
Okay.
Most of it is just for looks. Now
Really?
there are specific blade shapes that lend themselves better for specific jobs.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of Wharncliffe or sheep's foot blades. I just don't like the way that they
I
look.
don't know what that is.
So let's
By the way,
see
guys, he's got
here.
like 17 attachments on his body. He's trying to find a blade.
So this is going to be a sheep's foot.
Okay.
A Wharncliffe is going to be a straight blade, but where this drop point goes down at a more gradual angle. It
Okay.
doesn't go straight out and just drop straight off. So a sheep's foot kind of looks like a sheep's foot. A Wharncliffe is going to go off at a more drastic angle from back here. Still be a flat blade.
Okay.
Those are good work blades.
Okay.
That's a good blade, like if you're cutting linoleum or cutting some sort of sheeting. And it's easy to sharpen because it's one straight edge.
Yeah.
You don't have a curve to deal with.
Because what's the one that goes like this and then has like 45 and then that? It's like.
So like a reverse tanto.
Yes. Actually, I know what a tanto is. Yes.
So yeah, like a reverse tanto.
I'm gonna sound so dumb on this podcast.
No,
but I don't care.
that's okay. That's okay. We're here for education.
We are. But that's a hard blade to sharpen.
So
Harder.
and that one is going to be similar to that. It's going to be a good utility blade. Tantos, as far as I'm concerned, are purely aesthetic.
Yeah.
And I love them. I'm going to pull out another one.
That said, I love it.
I've got
What?
I've got my Microtech here in the Hellhound blade, and that's technically a tanto.
I hate you. How much is that? It's like 6, 7, 8.
No,
What is
this
that one?
one's 475, 476.
Oh, so pretty.
But we've also got the UTX 85 version in the Hellhound blade. That's I think 406.
Yeah.
So getting a little bit less there.
Okay.
But purely aesthetic.
Okay.
I mean, and it traces its origins back to samurai swords and Japanese-made blades. I'm a big clip point fan. That's going to be one like this. So it's a traditional blade shape, but with a clip taken out of it right there. The big version of it is going to be a fixed blade, like a Bowie.
Yeah.
That's going to be a clip point blade. This one right here. Nope, that's a pin blade. I don't have one, but what the typical second blade on like a trapper pattern is going to be a spade blade. And I get a lot of questions asking, or even a modern folder that has it is going to be like the Osborne from Benchmade.
Okay.
That blade, its intention and its origin is for castration, for cattle. That's what it was created for. It was created by ranchers. And once you realize that that was what that blade shape was created for, Warren Osborne, that designed the Osborne for Benchmade, was a cattle rancher.
Huh.
And so the intention for that blade shape was for castration, for steering calves. And, you know, harpoon blades, they get their name from their blade shape. It's going to be another kind of like a clip point. It's got the same kind of upswept tip. Then you got, you know, Nessmuck blades or Skinner blades that are going to have a big belly on them.
Yep.
They're going to be good for unzipping hides.
I was terrified of a couple Hogue knives that I literally gave one away because I knew I would cut myself on
Right.
it. I'm not even joking. Because I skinned my own deer and I was using the one and the other one was just so sharp, so small. I'm like, I don't need this.
Yeah.
I don't need to hurt myself.
Yeah. And then you've got hawkbill blades, which are going to be good for, I mean, I've got one on an electrician's knife that is good for stripping wire. It's a good utility blade. It's a good whittling blade. And then you've got some that are purely for defensive use.
Yeah.
A karambit.
Which people need to understand. Karambits, okay, those are the ones that you can put in your pinky or finger, and then, yeah. So he has an example of one. Those are the cool ones that fold in and fold out and close that I can't figure out how to do and not hurt myself.
And so this one's terrifing. And
yes. I saw their trainer at Blade Show, and I couldn't even do it.
So the designer of this, Cherry, from Exoskeleton, he's also the one that designed the Riot gravity knife.
Okay.
And he designed this. It's stupid simple for what it is. It's got a button that releases it right there, and then that folds out. And then the blade folds out independently, and then it closes back down and locks in place.
And now you've got a grip.
There. Now, what's funny about this is, and a trainer comes with every one of these.
That's smart.
So, and he comes up to me, and it's so funny because he goes, "You use trainer, or you will cut the shit out of yourself." And I was like, "Okay, thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that." So, opening it is not the hard part.
It's closing.
It's closing
and not
it
closing on yourself.
Because if you close it and it pops back up like that and doesn't go all the way down, if you close it and it pops back up like that, what ends up happening is that knife blade goes right down through there and will end up
I'm a hard no.
impaling you.
That's the coolest thing I saw at Blade, and that's the only thing I will never own as well.
Yeah.
Darn.
They're fascinating and they're so much fun.
Yeah, so you sit around at the office fidgeting with that all the time, don't
yes,
you?
yes, I absolutely do.
So that's productive.
Okay. Absolutely.
But those are cool blades.
Yeah.
Those are really cool.
They're fun. But again,
not all of them are like the foldy. Yeah.
With a karambit, that's going to be, I mean, yeah, you can use it to cut stuff. I mean, you can hold it like that, and it's actually really ergonomic.
Yeah.
But the main purpose for that is going to be defensive.
So I have this little tiny like Bastinelli knife that is sideways, so then you just grab it out with like pointer finger, and then it's just like the backwards.
Yep.
Whatever. That I'm gonna hurt myself with that, I'm sure, but it's so cool. I mean, it's like so cool. So those are the defensive stuff is interesting too to me, and I love watching people set stuff up on their belts. I'm like, if it's a folding knife, it's probably not defensive. It needs to be more of a straight blade or whatever, or fixed blade. And then the angles, like, hey, how are you going to release that? Especially like the daggers or the punches or whatever, you need to set that up. And if you're a gun person, like for me, I always leave my gun hand for my right hand.
Right.
Strong hand, that's gun.
Yep.
So the knife stuff need to be on your left side. And people are like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And like, you got to start using a flashlight with your left. You got to start using, the blades with your left, and just get used to that because you do want your gun hand free.
And
that's
honestly, that's why I set up my everyday carry. I've got my fixed blade right here.
Yep.
And so if I need it for just a normal task, I can reach down with my right hand and cross draw it. But
what is that little thing?
What's that?
What is that little thing?
So this is a Weatherford.
Okay.
And this is pretty much my do-it-all. It's 1095 carbon steel, made by Chad Weatherford out of South Carolina. He hand makes all of his knives.
Pretty.
And just a really good do-it-all knife that's easy to carry.
Yeah.
But I keep it cross draw like that. Scout carry on the front, so that if I need it for just a normal task, I can reach with my right hand. But if I need it in a defensive situation and I've got my gun, which I usually carry appendix here, I can reach down with my left hand and I've got it in a defensive position immediately. So that's a very useful way to carry that. And do
you get odd looks?
Sometimes. Actually, it was really funny the other day at the liquor store. Guy was like, "That's a really cool knife. You must know a lot about knives."
I'm the knife guy.
And I was like, "I know a little bit about them." I didn't want to get into all the conversation.
No.
I was like, "I know a little bit about knives."
Not at the liquor store either.
He was like, "That's really cool, dude. I love knives, man." Good combo.
Yeah, wow. You're a poster board.
Yeah.
There's how many on you right now?
I've got several. And I carried some of them today. Like I typically carry based on what I'm doing that day for video content.
Yeah.
So I end up carrying more than I normally would. Usually though, I do carry 3 knives.
Okay.
I carry a fixed blade, I carry a modern folder, and a traditional.
Okay.
The traditional is the one that gets used the most, and that was actually the one that I showed you earlier, was my pawpaw's knife.
No.
And I inherited that from him. A fixed blade is going to do all the hard, heavy work that I needed to do. And then modern is typically to open Amazon packages.
I was supposed to say boxes.
Yeah.
100% boxes.
And then, of course, I've got my utility. So I've got my Leatherman that I always carry because it's got all of my bits and attachments.
Are you on one Leatherman or 3 like I? I know you saw that post, dude. I was like, this one, when it gets lost, though, it's engraved. I paid for the engraving. I'm like, maybe someone will go on Instagram, type in 3 Gun Kenzie and be like, I'm going to get this back to her.
So...
3, dude.
Like one of those inspiring, like, misconnections posts. Yeah. So... I carried a Gerber for 17 years. I had it for 17 years.
That's a long time.
And then actually, I think it was after I'd been at Knife Works for a year, we made a post, and like it was kind of a joke. So, and I'm not going to say who it was in reference to, but somebody else had just posted like a moving on post. And so we made it seem like I was moving on.
From Gerber.
And, no, well, we made it seem like I was leaving. Like we made it like all like emotional and shit. And so, but it was just me letting go of that 17 years of Gerber and trying something new. And I tried the Leatherman Free P4 and I loved it. I made some intense modifications to it.
Why?
Because it wasn't exactly how I wanted it, but there was opportunity to improve upon it.
Okay.
And then our Leatherman rep came in and
saw the mods.
Yeah.
Saw the mods.
And
I love that.
I showed it to him and he goes, "Damn. Why didn't we do this?" And I was like, "I know. I'm not going to say anything further, but it was several months later, they announced that they were coming out with the ARC with an upgraded blade steel and some upgrades on the tool. And
inspired by
that's
TC.
That's what I carry. I'm kind of proud of it, even though it's not official. But I feel like myself and other people in the industry, Taylor Martin for one, because he helped me along that process, actually have, and it really shows that companies like Leatherman are listening to the consumer.
For sure. Yeah.
And listening to what people want.
Yeah.
And that's another kind of go-between that we're here for is, Leatherman, these big companies, Leatherman, Benchmade, Microtech, Case, they don't have time to sift through all of the stuff out there. So it kind of falls on us as influencers and social media personalities to understand what works and what doesn't and what the consumers are looking for, and go back to those companies and say, hey, this is great, but maybe think about something like this.
100%.
And that's how a lot of the innovation gets from the consumer to the companies.
Yep.
Is us acting as, kind of intermediaries.
And that's what I enjoy more about what I get to do is I can't talk about the ones I've seen, but there are guns coming out at SHOT Show that I got to get my hands on and shoot and give feedback on, and maybe they don't make changes, maybe they do, and there are brands that I won't say who that's had me in a room with the C-suite, right, to talk about this versus that, or why this, or what's this, and then price point versus, XYZ value, and it's been more rewarding for me to do prototype testing or to break something or to give feedback than it is just to do like a review, right? But it's like, no, I really want to be behind the scenes helping these companies develop things. And I've been told I am the 0.001% of females out there, because I remember going to, it was actually you, Tech Tour. My friend Ben was explaining, he's like, I can't explain Kenzie. So in her truck, she has spare batteries, all the tools, Loctite, Sharpies, rangefinder, binos, and I was like, yeah, so that's normal. And so I was like, let me go get what I'm showing you. And it was like this special tool that somebody makes of how to get the plus battery covers off.
Yep.
For SROs, and EOTech has them too. And I'm like, yeah, this is amazing. And I carry it with me everywhere. If it's like my Leatherman, it just goes in my pocket for my optics. And oh my God, spare fibers. So it's funny where he's like, you need to talk to Kenzie. If it comes from a female that's going to give you some feedback, our hand size are different, our bodies are different. Yeah. But it's been really fun. So when you talk about that nerd stuff, that's what I like too, of like, no, let me help.
Yeah.
And if I can break it, then they reiterate. If I can't break it, people are like, it's gold. Buy it now. Regan Kenzie can't destroy it.
And
it's good.
That's got to be satisfying.
It actually is really entertaining. It's really entertaining, because it used to be 3-gun Kenzie came from not the fact that I shot 3 guns, it was that I needed 3 guns to get through one match. So rude. I'm not kidding. That was on another podcast one time, but
that is fantastic.
I know. But I haven't broken a lot of stuff in a long time, and so that's where it's like, oh, things are working. Things are working. To that point, I want to ask you to kind of segueing is into maintenance and gear management. People don't realize even the sheaths, the screws, and Loctiting, and I don't sharpen blades very well very often, but because I hurt myself. And even oiling blades, that's something I do and that not a lot of other people even thought to do in the knife world. So can you speak to knife 101 maintenance?
Yeah. So maintenance is crucial. And we can break it down like this. As far as sharpening, we'll touch there first.
I think my sharpener's up there. Yeah, it is. It's in the corner. Do you see?
Yep.
Yeah, there you go. Just hiding away behind a lot of stuff. So you see how much I get it out.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different avenues, and I was kind of brought up the old school way. I sharpen most of my stuff by hand. And so I've got a work sharp field sharpener.
Okay.
That I use. It's got the 2 different steels and the ceramic on it. And both ends are set up to get you on that 20-degree angle. Now, if it's something that I need to do more specific, if I want to get a specific angle out of something, or if I'm rebeveling something, then for sure I'll put it on a static mount. But I also do grind work freehand because, again, back to machine shop.
Yeah.
I've done that quite a bit. But I'm here to tell you, I don't promote anyone out there that doesn't have experience on a bench grinder going and putting a knife blade on a wheel, because you can do a lot more damage than good in a really short amount of time. But for me, sharpening is kind of therapeutic. So I really enjoy just sitting there. I mean, I'll sit there in my recliner at home.
I bet your wife loves that. I just thought about the noise.
Yep. And I'll sit there and
kill you.
What I'll do is I'll go like at least a couple of times a week, and I'll go through my rotation, and I'll grab like 4 or 5 knives, and I'll sit them on the table next to me, and I'll just go through and I'll.
That would drive me nuts.
And it's relaxing for me. But I was also brought up in a time and by old school Southern guys, my pawpaw and my dad, that carried a whetstone in their pocket, and they would just whip out that whetstone and just and then carve up an apple and eat it.
Oh my gosh.
So that was something. It was kind of a point of pride for me. Then, as far as everything else goes, I like to go through. I don't do as good of a job myself breaking down my knives, taking them apart, cleaning them out. Every once in a while, I'll take air compressor and just blow them out, blow the lint out of them or something like that. Really important. A lot of times with the newer blade steels, oil and corrosion is not a huge problem unless you get into the carbon steel blades, which you're typically going to find on fixed blades anyways. And I'm a huge proponent of oiling those, but I don't oil mine as much as you may think.
Sure.
Like this one here, that's a 1095 carbon steel blade. I hardly ever oil it, but I just make sure I clean it off every time I use it. And then I'll usually oil it after I use it, and then after that, I won't oil it again until the next time I do like if I'm processing or something. And carbon steel blades get a bad stigma out there. And they're like, oh, it'll rust if you look at it. And I'm like, no, they won't. I carry them every day. One of my favorite blade steels to carry is D2. I carry D2 in a lot of my knives. And there's so many people out there that are like, oh, D2 will rust too fast, blah, blah, blah. I've got a lot of family down in Florida that carries carbon steel blades all the time.
That's humid and salted.
Yeah.
So
now you do have to pay more attention and make sure they stay cleaned off and that kind of stuff. But that's the biggest difference there. And as far as like pivots and stuff on modern folders, I usually go through and oil mine. You can just go through my whole rotation and everything, which is a giant toolbox.
I can't imagine.
It's insane. And my wife hates it. But she's like, you don't need all those knives. I'm like, I can't keep people from giving them to me.
No, this is true.
I'm the knife guy, and they're like, you need another knife. Okay.
So Vivi was so nice because I freaked out over one of the blue knives out there, and it matches my truck. I was like, this is the Thad color. And I'm like, what is that? I'm like, no, who?
Who?
They're like, you have to have it.
Your truck has a personality.
I know. And I was like, Civivi just matches it, man. They're like, okay, you can keep it. You just need to have it. I'm like, thank you.
Was that Seth? I'm
Yes.
assuming. Yeah, Seth is great.
He was
I love him to
my
death.
energy.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, meeting Kyle there too. I mean, he was super sweet too. The whole team is awesome. And I saw We Knife. I mean, all their brands, but they're going to be at SHOT Show and have a booth.
Yeah.
There was a couple more blades that Templar knives was another one. There's a bunch that I didn't know are going to have booths at SHOT Show.
Kind of a funny story. So last year at SHOT Show, we were going around and getting some content, and I was actually going to do some with We and Civivi, and So for those that don't know, a lot of the booths at SHOT Show have meeting rooms inside the booth, and conference rooms, and that's where all the deals get made.
Snacks.
Yeah, exactly. And Seth was like, "Yeah, just go ahead and go in there, and I'll bring what we're going to talk about in there in just a second." And I opened the door, and I opened the wrong door, and I opened it up, and I'm not going to say who was sitting there, but it was a company that makes knives that don't fold, and I was like,
wrong.
Let me get my camera, and they were like, no. It's like, I'm just joking. I love giving people a hard time about that because I'm the guy that hears a lot of the secrets, but I'm the guy that they're also most scared to tell the secrets. Because I'm the guy that tells everybody.
That's so funny.
It's because it's my job.
Yeah.
But that is a collaboration that actually came to fruition and will be coming out very soon.
Okay.
So
SHOT Show, maybe.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
So
before I digress too on maintenance and gear, I want to ask you another like weird question: is Tech Lock, Ulti-Clip, like what are some of the attachment styles that you like and you see for various purposes?
So I love Ulti-Clip primarily. I love the way their stuff works. And I mean, Shane Adams, formerly of Essie.
We're gonna just cry for a minute.
But yeah.
And we're done.
Yeah.
We cried for a full minute. I'm really sad about that.
We are. We
can't even talk about it yet.
I'm here to tell you, he has done so much for the industry and so much for me personally. Been an inspiration, but he showed that they can rust pretty easily with his trip down to the Amazon. But I love what they do. I love the versatility of all the products that they carry, and the universality of being able to mount them just about anywhere.
Yeah.
So I really like those. I'm also a big Tech Lock fan. And there's several different companies that make iterations of the Tech Lock.
Right.
Civivi actually makes their own version of it.
I didn't know that.
That's incredibly affordable.
Okay.
I want to say retail on them's like $8 maybe, or
oh wow,
maybe even less. I don't remember exactly, but yeah. So that actually might be.
And the reason I'm bringing this up
that's what's
too,
on this one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. The reason I bring this up too is like even in the gun world is the modularity for gear, especially for 3-gunners, is like we're sharing gear, we're swapping gear, we're using the same belt system, and typically they're gonna be the same width. But even on the Tech Lock, you can take those little spacers out or fit it, and Ulti-Clip's great. They have a modular kind of setup for now like mag pouches and the way you angle things. So now it can be 45, 90, if depending on where you're gonna put on your belt, and that's what I want people to look at when they think about knives and guns. Is like you can really customize it to your grip angle, your body, where you want it placed. Like there are no more excuses in 2024 for anything, for concealed carry, for knife carry, for where you want it. Like
you can make it comfortable no matter what.
Yes. So I'm trying to teach people for zero excuses. Like whenever someone starts, I'm like, no, wait.
And like this one, and this is, I'm a big proponent of like the Tech Lock style.
Yeah.
Mainly because of how easy it is to get on and off. I don't have to thread my belt through it. But for me, and I'm not a competition shooter, and I don't think I'd ever be that quick. But
you will. You could.
So this one is going to be very adaptable, super inexpensive, locks in place nice, also Molly compatible, which is huge for me because
you're a Molly guy.
All of my bags are Molly. My plate carrier, I've got Molly crap all over it. So that is something that's what I look for.
Yeah.
Because that's
compatibility.
I've got Molly like sheets basically
Stop.
that can go in my vehicles, that can go, I can put it up on the wall.
Yeah.
So it's just, I want Molly everywhere because I can literally put anything on it because that's what I gear
Sure.
my mindset towards. And there, like you said, there's no excuse why you can't get what you want anymore.
Yep. And the amount of brands. So, do you know how many brands you guys carry in the store, including the dungeon?
Oh, it's over 1,000. I would say. I mean, there's a ton. I mean, and as far as well-known knife brands, I mean, you've got all the big hitters. We've got Benchmade, Case. We've got Microtech. We've got Gerber. We've got Kershaw, CRKT, SE, Tops, K-Bar.
And they're all organized in a really nice layout too. When you're looking for the big wigs or a certain spot, looking for more tactical or like you said, the custom made, American made. I mean, there's so many things. And you go down below, and it's the swords and the Japanese and the.
And we've set up our shop like
stuff.
we've set up the store. It's 108,000 square feet. It's huge.
Yeah.
And we've set it up to kind of be a mini blade show.
Yeah.
And we actually had
chair.
Some of the folks from Blade Show come and visit the store recently for the first time, and they were like, "This is really cool."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Yeah, we intended it to be like a Blade Show because everything is got its own booth, its own brand set up, so that you can see everything from that brand right there. We've got Cold Steel, Spyderco, all of those, and it makes it an experience.
Yeah, 100%.
Not just a shopping destination, not just another store, big box store. And the other cool aspect is we've got so much history on the walls too from the knife industry over the last 100 years. And getting to walk through and see a lot of that stuff every day is pretty incredible. Like I see something new every day.
Really? I was going to ask you that.
It's unbelievable.
You don't take it for granted. You
from,
actually
the first knife, the first blade that went into space. Cool. Back in the Apollo missions, there was a machete that was on the Apollo missions.
I didn't know that.
Yes. A lot of people wonder why did they need a machete in space?
Aliens. Aliens, guys.
So, and here's the funny turn about it is everybody's like, that's stupid. Why would they send a machete? Well, you got to think, we're talking about the late 1960s. And computer technology was not what it is now. Tracking was not. And honestly, when they first did it, they didn't know for sure what was going to happen. And they also didn't know where these guys were going to splash down at. Or whether or not they were going to be able to find them.
And these idiots said, yes, send me.
So, yeah, exactly. Like, can you imagine how brave you've got to be to do that?
No.
But at the same time.
Or suicidal. One of the two.
But at the same time, they wanted them to be able to survive when they came back if they weren't able to find them immediately. So
machetes for cutting down the jungle forest world.
Exactly.
They might have to have.
So if they didn't know if they didn't maybe splash down, because I mean, when you're thinking about re-entering the atmosphere,
are you though? Does anyone really think about re-entering the atmosphere? This is like such a weird topic, dude. I love it.
Well, I've been talking to Elon and doing one of these SpaceX missions, and it's a lot better now. But I'm kind of afraid of, I might get a few degrees off, and I'm not going to end up in the Pacific Ocean. I'm going to end up on
Vietnam,
some island.
Vietnam with a machete. Too soon, maybe.
Yeah. No, never.
Did they ever use that though? Did they ever actually unsheath that? See, that'd be kind of cool. Like I would toss a watermelon up in no gravity and yeah. This is where the content creator side of my brain goes, so that's not valuable. Well, anyways, I don't even know where to go from there. So we've talked about a ton of stuff. Is there anything I forgot about? Anything I left off, or anything else you want to touch on?
Well, I think
side space.
But right. I think going forward, so we've talked about kind of our history and our past and what we love and I guess what we don't love as much about the industry and the frustrations that we face. I want to know what you're most looking forward to in 2024.
For me, is still going to be gun size stuff, but I am shooting a AK match in Texas, Clash Bash, but it's like a trade show where there's booths and people are literally coming, thousands of people come just to shoot the guns, right?
Right.
There's a match, there's an actual competition too. So I think that I signed up for Saturday, so I'll shoot Saturday, and then these people show up. They do a night rave, they do like glow sticks and bonfires, and like people wearing Hawaiian shirts, people are in full kit and their helmets. Like, so I like AK stuff as almost because not there almost as much as three gun because of the culture and the people and the vibe.
Yeah. It's I don't know. That absolutely fits.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you think AK, you think Kalashnikov, you think Russian, and it's gonna be wild
This
and
is
crazy.
my gamer AK. It is a 5.56, but it's a Galil.
Gorgeous.
It is pretty, and that's why. So it's retro, splatter painted. For people on video, you've seen it probably in my videos, but it's a race gun. So for me, it's like I go for. I mean, obviously, all these guns are colored in a way, and I have more, but I'm excited for that. I've never shot it, never gone, wanted to go, and then 2024, like I'm going to SHOT Show with the intentions of seeing what 2024 will look like. I mean, it's been 10 years, by the way. 2024 also marks 10 years for me carrying a gun every day because I was 21 when I legally got my permit. I'm 31 now, so it's been exactly 10 years. August 2020, so 2013 was my very first shooting competition for 2014 because math is hard. So in August, it'll be 10 years of competition shooting. I've never done anything for 10 years.
Right.
Like, so that's a big deal. So for 2024, it's really just me enjoying it. I'll say it on a podcast, but I'll just say I don't know what's going to come of it. I applied to World Rifle Shoot for IPSC in Finland, and it would be on my birthday as day one of the match. I don't know that I'll make the team, right? So this is me being vulnerable, guys. I didn't even want to go out there, but I am excited because if that happens, and that's cool, and if I don't get it, that's cool too. You know, I want to represent my country on the world stage. That's been a dream of mine for a long time.
That is freaking awesome.
We'll see. We don't know.
Yeah.
And then, learning more just about like writing and content and like where I'm going. I hate YouTube because we've talked about why. But I am doing more YouTube content now and just like videos myself. And so I'm really just seeing where that goes. It could go probably nowhere. That's my expectations. If it does more than that, cool. So that's 2024 for me.
Heck
What
yeah.
about you? This is supposed to be about you.
Well, so
Zinger.
it boom.
Right?
I didn't see that coming. No, I'm really excited for a lot of different things. I love doing all of the content between both stores. I love doing the outdoor content and the knife side of things. I also love getting into the design aspect of it. So going forward for me, I'm looking forward to talking to more designers. I've also got, and this is just some stuff that I've got down on paper, and I'm gonna try to explore it in the future now that I've got kind of a foot in the door. But I've got some of my own designs that I might be putting out there. So
Okay.
that I might be putting and come to fruition until 2025 or 2026. But
Yeah.
but continuing to do what we've been doing. I love doing the outdoor content. I love doing the survival training. And that is another thing that I've been toying with in my mind. Maybe putting out there, maybe wanting to do more, and I won't say what,
A
but
TV show.
possibly. I kind of
I know who you've been hanging out with.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
not necessarily that same one. Maybe another show on
If
the other
only
side.
people
But
knew.
I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
if
yeah.
they would. I don't know if they would even want me. But I haven't
Never know.
even put in the application. But it's
It's a vulnerable moment for both of us of like
Yeah.
we'll probably both just get our dreams crushed.
Right.
You know, no big deal. But in the off chance that not, yeah.
but it's kind of one
You
of those
have to
things
apply
that,
to hear no or yes.
Yeah. And you know that's something as far as survival training in my experience and what I've done in my past. It's almost like a rite of passage, but it's almost proving to myself that I can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you don't know until you're put in that situation. So
100%.
that's something that I kind of want to do. And I'm also looking forward to doing more on the gun side of things. Because last year was just me getting my feet wet. This year, I'm looking forward to maybe making a bigger splash. The downside for me is a lot of the gun tubers, a lot of the creators out there are more apprehensive to talk to me because I do work for a
Sure.
retail company.
Sure.
And I'm not, I would like for them to know that I'm not that kind.
Sure.
So I'm trying to take a different approach. I want to be a part of the community. And I mean, I've been a part of the community as far as the manufacturers go.
Right. Yeah.
It's just I want to get more into the content creator side of it and hang out more with folks like you.
Okay, we'll shot you.
So,
we'll have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be good.
So
Careful what you wish for.
That's what I'm looking more forward to, and getting more involved in that side of things.
Awesome.
and more events on that side of things.
All right, my challenge to you in 2024, and we better make it happen. You have to shoot one type of competition with me. Whole year, one weekend. You have to figure it out. PRS, 3-gun, AK. There's various ones. Okay. It's a challenge.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to shake
on it. By a year. You got a full year.
Okay.
One.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll do it.
All right. Game on. TC, how else can people find you, by the way? If people want to connect with you versus the brand, where do they go?
So you can find all the brand stuff, either SMKW or SMG&A. And the reason why that is so that we don't have
Shadow
the
bands
word
everywhere.
knife and the word gun directly in the name. But it's Smoky Mountain Knife Works, Smoky Mountain Guns and Ammo. As far as me personally, I've got a few different methods. So I'm typically TCB2 Country everywhere. On Instagram. I've also got TC's Toolbox, which is a channel that I started last year. It's kind of an homage to my dad, being a machine shop guy. And when he passed away, I inherited all of his tools.
Aww.
So I started going through it all, and I found a lot of really old tools that I hadn't seen in years. And I started talking to people, and they were like, I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen them in decades.
Well, it dies. All the trades, all the knowledge, it sucks.
And so I started doing some stuff with regards to that, and I want to do more with that this coming up year. Kind of talking about tools and old tools specifically, but maybe doing some new tool reviews. So that's going to be on TC's Toolbox. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll go through, so we've got a lot of antique stores around here. And what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll find something really old and really cool, and I'll take a picture of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, if you know what this is, comment if you've used one before.
Yeah.
And I've posted pictures of coin traps and of this old brass wax candle maker.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And I remember when I picked it up and I was like, this is so cool. And my mom was like, what is that? You make candles with it. Who are you? Were you born in the 1800s? What the? So, I mean, I'm intrigued by all that kind of stuff. So, TC's Toolbox is another place. And then on Facebook, just TC Barnette.
Okay.
So I'm out there. I'm all over the place.
Ask for him if you're in the stores.
I still don't have a personal Twitter/X account because I got banned when it was Twitter several years ago, and never was able to get my account back.
You gotta start a new one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start a new one. And I had a decent amount of followers too. It was disappointing, and that was actually because of another firearms company. But yeah, so that's where we're at.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming over. Thanks for podcasting.
Thank you. This has been so much fun.
I'm glad we got to do it. Thanks for coming on. And dude, 2024 will be epic. I'm gonna hold you to that. SHOT Show will be fun. And you're gonna shoot a match this year.
Let's do it.
The content will be gold.
Let's do it. God, I'm gonna fall on my face.
I did that. I always do that. So listeners, stay tuned for another episode of the Reticle Up Podcast coming next week. And if you are gonna be at SHOT Show, because this episode will be out before then, come say hey. Come find TC, Kenzie. We'll be running around probably together for a good bit. He doesn't know it yet, but he's already adopted now that he's mentioned that. So all right, guys, stay tuned.
Thanks for listening to the Reticle Up Podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Follow along on social media at Reticle Up or 3-Gun Kenzie.